Good morning and welcome back to the Morning Mindset edition of the Live, Build, Change podcast. I am Kerry Green. I'm your brother in Christ, and I'm here to encourage you. And given the topic we've been talking about this last episode or two, it may not sound incredibly encouraging because we're talking about the judgment of God and God's right as God to bring terrible things into the lives of real people. And we have to face these things head on, these kinds of issues, because there really is no getting around it. Because in any case, when a difficulty comes into your life, let's paint a terrible picture for a moment as an example. Let's say your child were abducted and killed. It's a horrible thing to think about, but it does happen to people in this world, right? Well, say that happened to you or to someone who's close to you. That circumstance could have been stopped by God, correct? That circumstance could have been prevented, in other words, by God, because God is all-powerful. But the fact remains that He didn't. And we have to be able to answer in our own heart and mind, at the very depths of our soul, the question, why? Why does a loving God at the very least allow, and at the very worst ordain, that things like that happen in the lives of people, much less the lives of His people? It makes us consider that maybe He's not as loving as we thought, or we question His wisdom or what's going on in our lives. And we could either turn bitter and shake our fists at God, or we could just give up on life altogether. But there is another option, and that other option is the option of faith. And that option of faith can't happen blindly. We have to look at the circumstance for what it really is and answer the question with wisdom based on what the Bible tells us. And at the bottom line, the answer to the question, why does God fill in the blank, is because He is God. He is doing something in His wisdom, in His perfection, in His plan, in His holiness that we do not understand. Sometimes He will give us the benefit of seeing what it is that He's doing. In the circumstances in Egypt that we've been looking at in the book of Exodus, He says repeatedly throughout those plagues that He is doing this, that Egypt and Moses and the people of Israel and all the nations around, and even the future lineage of the nation of Israel, will know that He is God. So that was His purpose. That's why He was bringing these terrible things against the people of Egypt, was that others would know that He is the great I am. He is God. And why is that important enough that it's worth subjecting millions of people to painful circumstances? Well, it's worth it because if we as individuals do not see God for who He really is, we are missing out on the greatest treasure available to us. He's greater than a successful job, a full bank account, a healthy retirement. He is more valuable and more to be valued than anything else. And so He's showing His power in that instance to demonstrate that, so that all looking on would turn to Him in faith and turn to Him as faithful followers. And in our lives, many times, the hardships we face are aimed toward the same goal. But even if we don't know that that's the goal, we have to trust that God is wise and perfect and all-knowing and doing what is best in the situation, even when it doesn't feel like it's best to us. That's a hard pill to swallow, but I want to encourage you today. If you are going through it, your God is on the throne. He hasn't lost control. He isn't losing His mind. He is doing good through your circumstance. Rest in that. Grit your teeth and rest in it if you need to, because it is the truth. Join me again tomorrow for the Morning Mindset edition of the Live, Build, Change podcast.